Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're watching this interview anywhere else but within our private Facebook community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, then definitely come check us out. We'd definitely love to have you. And that community was put together specifically for coaches, consultants, and service providers who are serious about getting up to that 6 and that 7-figure level. So if that's you, definitely come check out our community. Now, today, I want to invite you and introduce you to one of our guests, Myra. Welcome, Myra.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful for this meeting and this interview. I really appreciate you welcoming me to your community.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. So, Myra, tell myself and the rest of the community members, what is it that you do?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So I left my corporate job about 3.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. I was working in the branding and marketing space for over a decade. And, and after a while I had, it really all started after I had my twins. My boys were born at the time, and I worked for about a year and just got burned out. And then while I was 4 months pregnant, I lost my father. And there was a big epiphany, epiphany in my heart that I was just not meant to do this, with this corporate lifestyle. I just couldn't sustain it anymore. There was always this tug of war between home and trying to balance between home and doing the work that I was doing. So I finally, just pulled the plug, and I, told my husband that, I was going to quit my job, and he freaked out. He wasn't totally on board with it, but I told him that I need this, this is not necessary. I thought I was doing it for my children, for my kids, but really it was for me. So and so I started my consulting. I started, networking with other, previous coworkers, and just networking with people in general. And I landed a year-long contract. So, and that gave me hope that I can do this. I can do this on my own. And I started, working with entrepreneurs, startups, and also small businesses, just helping them understand how important it is to build a brand that is more than just selling a product or a service. So that's what I do, is really position their identity so that they can really be, have this long sustaining brand that they're meant to do in their business. Because a lot of the businesses, they start, this dream pipeline, and before you know it, there's more, scaling becomes really, really challenging with team culture, all those types of things. And to have a brand in place that is long sustained, it's a long sustaining road. It's important to have those building blocks in place. So that's what I help with in a nutshell.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. So tell me, how do you define what a brand is? What's your definition of a brand?
Well, I don't know if you know Marty Neumeier. I really admire his work. He's one of the top world's brand strategists. And, his definition is really, it's a gut feeling of a person. When they see you, when they see your brand, they get a gut feeling of, it's the internal and external perspective. And if you're internally aligned, it makes it basically, how you're aligned with your personal values, with your mission, and all those beliefs that you have. And to shift that in a perspective where your audience can also understand and feel that emotion that the brand is able to do. It's basically the heart and soul of your company. So that's how I see it. That's how I've been trained, and I've been teaching other entrepreneurs about that. It's more than just creating your business in a nutshell and just making profit.
Awesome. Now, in terms of when it comes to a branding, what are a couple of big mistakes you see being made by individuals with their brand?
Yeah, so the most common mistake, I mean, everybody, when they start a business, they need a name, they register a name and they maybe get a logo uh, off of, Upwork or Fiverr or that kind of thing, which is fine. Like, in the starting, you just need something. But as your business grows, as your business is developing with you, and you are also evolving in so many ways, what I see the mistake is that they become stagnant, and they're not pushing themselves to challenging themselves to bring it to the next level, take it to the next level. And their identity is changing. So what I see is that a lot of in the coaching industry, people are elevating their services and everything, but the look and feel is still like in the 1980s, and they're not upgrading, they're not elevating their identity. And to me, it's going to catch up with you at some point when, I've seen working with small businesses, while working with small businesses, that at some point investors are looking at you. You have a big audience, the audience are starting to take notice, and all those things come in play, and so for me, it's important that, you are upgrading, you are matching with your quality of services to make sure that it reflects your current identity.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, what do you help your clients with every single aspect of branding? Are there any specific elements you specialize in? What's your specialization?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that. Yeah, so the specialization basically is that we hone in the foundation of your brand, which is really understanding the true essence, what makes up the essence, and that could be the kind of the unique personality traits that you have, and pinning down that, those unique traits, and then also defining the mission, defining your values in every aspect, how it plays, how it aligns with your actual business strategy. Um, and then then from taking all those essence, we define the identity with the visual identity, which is, which comes down to your colors, your fonts, everything that portrays your true essence, who you are. And that is a huge component of how everything, it creates that emotion. When somebody come in a point of contact with you, they feel that emotional connection. It's kind of like, I watch and study the big brands, that how Apple and Nike, all those, yes, those small brands are nothing, they don't have the pushback that I get, like, well, we're not that big and we don't have the budget to do that. How do you, well, they use something called archetypes, and those archetypes can be used even in the small businesses, where they can mirror some of those qualities and those strong personality traits to inject in the small businesses. Even as a very, very tiny business, you can do that. And that's the power of creating those brands in that realm, that you don't have to spend $100,000 in marketing or branding budget to do something. You can even do it in a very small scale, but in a powerful way. So, and then, so we create that visual identity, and then what I have in the process is that I create this marketing funnel based on that branding, and then it creates that awareness, it creates that, that environment for their audience and the culture, that magnetically attracts the client.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about budgets wise? Is it like business specific? What's a typical budget someone should, when they were actually starting to say, okay, I need to get some really good stuff going with my brand? What's the typical budget do you
I
recommend
always say
sign off with?
you need to account 10 to 15% of your budget. Like if you're spending on marketing, if you're spending on, setting up your systems and all that, which is important, which is absolutely needed. but you also need to account at least 15% of your budget for branding. That's what I would say for,
Mm-hmm.
you know, someone who's making six figures already, or getting up to that six-figure level. And past seven figures, eight figures, definitely, I think 15 to 20% is very normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Awesome. And what about, so what's one skill you'd say you've really practiced and honed in on that's helped you create your level of success today based on your journey?
Oh my gosh. It's evolved so much because I've been looked as a designer for so long. You know, I've been perceived as someone who just designs these beautiful, pretty things. And now I've evolved into a strategic designer, that I actually map the design so strategically that it needs to tie into the business outcome. Like if it's not increasing your sales conversion, if it's not increasing your, you know, the attracting your dream clients and soul clients, then it's a mismatch. There's no point of creating this Ferrari with no engine, you know. So, you know, my focus is really creating that engine with the Ferrari. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been able to take my design skills and put it into a more of a strategic format where people are getting actually better results because of that. And they're getting a long-term tangible results because of that. And what I'm in the process, what I've learned is that my clients are now really appreciate the process that I push them through, to go through the foundation first before they do any hiring web developers or designers to build their websites or things like that. Because what happens is they go down that route where they're, you know, just getting a logo done or website done. And what happens is that they just fall flat. Their marketing falls flat. And we try to avoid that.
Yeah, awesome. So you said designer. Do you mean like a graphic designer? Is that what you?
Graphic designers, yes, graphic designers, or, you know, people who are just doing identity design, meaning they're just doing your, you know, a quick mock-up of what your color palette looks like, what your fonts look like, without actually doing the foundation work.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And what about working with you? What does working with you look like? Do you work in person? Is it virtual?
Yeah, so all my services are one-on-one right now. You know, I don't have a group program or anything because it's such a high impact program, high impact, high, you know, level service. So it's one-on-one. It's done for you service, which, you know, it's literally, we get it, you know, the moment we get started, uh, we're done in like approximately 10 weeks, depending on the client. But like, you know, our whole goal is to really get from the foundation all the way to having a marketing campaign that is all tied together. And it brings this, you know, you're in this flow. So that's the entire like 8 to 10 weeks is, you know, what I have as a one-on-one service.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And it's only one program.
Yeah. And you said, what about working with your clients? Do you meet them in person or is it a virtual type of engagement?
Right now it's all virtual because we'll have Zoom meetings like this. You know, we'll have a 90-minute strategy session first, and then we take everything that we've created from that brand foundation, the essence and everything, from defining all the mission and values and everything, and we take that and we translate those things into a visual identity.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a junior designer, and I have some other team members that we get together and we help create that visual identity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Awesome.
that identity also helps you keep you consistent, you know, so you're not looking you're not portraying one image on Facebook and then you have a totally different image on Instagram or LinkedIn, you know what I mean? And it's all consistent. So people, when they come in contact with you, they know that, okay, that's what you do, that's who you are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good, good. Now, what about how do you get your current update information? Are you pretty big into reading books, podcasts, watching interviews? How do you get your information?
How do I get, how do I get, stay
Yeah,
informed with my, with
yeah.
what I'm doing, you
Mm-hmm.
mean? Yeah, always. I'm reading books. I'm, attending virtual classes, and also I have mentors that are doing this line of work that I'm doing. So yeah, absolutely. I'm always investing in myself.
Mm-hmm. Perfect, perfect. So what about, I know a lot of some of the members in our community, they're newer on their journey. So a couple of them, they might still be working a full-time job, and they're like, man, I want to get out there and maybe create my own business or get into this whole entrepreneurial world. But I'm kind of there's some fear within me. So I guess what advice would you give for someone who that they want to do something, they have this dream, they have this vision, but they're sitting on the sidelines because they just don't feel like the time is right or they could pursue it? What would you say to those individuals?
Yes, and I work with those type of clients too, who are in that transition boat, right? Where in that transition, they have this dream, and they want to get out of their 9 to 5, and they just don't know how. I mean, I wouldn't recommend what I tell people that what I did, which I was like, I put the brakes on. I was like, you know, I wouldn't do it that way, where I just went cold. I just texted I told my husband, like, this is it, I'm quitting. But what I would say is that most entrepreneurs, when they're transitioning, I feel that they don't have a concrete plan. They don't have a vision. And when you create that clear vision, you can work towards that vision. But most people, what they do is, it's just it's like a fuzzy idea. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not really mapping that what that vision looks like. Like, I had to sit down. My mentor had me sit down. It's like, what kind of vision, what kind of life you want, that kind of thing. Where, I can even smell um, the dream house that I have. You know what I mean? Like, I can even smell the walls, the woodwork, and all that. You know what I mean? To that detail. And most people, I don't think they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Their vision is just not very clear. So it's when you don't have that tangible vision, it's hard to work towards that. You're just bootstrapping until you can make it, and that's not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Now, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to be able to connect and reach out?
Set up a call. I have a 30-minute clarity session that I give people. I get on a call with them. I understand, we'll see if that's a good fit, to work together. Excuse me, and I try to really get to understand where they're coming from, what are their goals, what are their challenges, and all that stuff, and just see that if this is something that they're even serious. Because honestly, anybody can start a business, but um, to sustain that for a very long period of time, brands that are lasting for 100, even to this day, it's a testament, right? It's all about standing the test of time. Which businesses are going to last, and which businesses are going to just melt away. And that's what I'm interested to work with, people who are really serious about, um, just passing on this as a legacy.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome, Myra. I love it. So, hey, Myra, thank you so much for sharing and being here today and sharing what you do. Now, do you have any final questions? Not final questions, but final thoughts before we end?
I think that's all. And you asked some really great questions. I mean, I'd love to answer any questions your community have. I know this is something that, a lot of what I've witnessed in the coaching industry, they're like, well, I'm just doing fine. I'm making already 6 figures. Why do I need a brand? Well, you do, because you're making 6 figure, 7 figure. It's time to elevate and up level your brand, because people are starting to take a notice of what you're doing. and you're nobody's watching your bank account, but you know, they are watching you as a person. And especially times like this right now where we're in this pandemic, people are looking deeper within you. You know, they're not just looking at figures, they're looking at your, you know, what you stand for, what are your values. Those are some core deep issues that we're working through right now. And I cannot think of a better time to work on branding.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my final thoughts.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Well, Myra, hey, thank you so much again for stopping by, and thank you so much for sharing what it is that you do. Really appreciate it. And guys, if you're watching this interview on the live or the replay, the links to connect with Myra, they should either be above or below the video. So you can click and get connected right to her. Well, again, Myra, thank you again, and we'll talk soon. Okay.